Chapter 91, The Second Red Entry, Bones Like a Dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With the 6 doors, after the news spread about Li Ming wiping out the Lin family, the atmosphere got really strange. So, what are your thoughts on the whole Lin family situation? Lu Tian asked with a grin. Immediately, the family representatives present looked uncomfortable. They'd been pleading for the Lins before, even throwing shade at the 6 doors for being reckless and potentially causing a disaster. Now, the tables had turned. Sticking up for the Lin family at this point would be a bad move. Finally, a younger guy spoke up, that Lin family was a bunch of ingrates. Not only did they go against the 6 doors, but they were secretly up to no good the whole time. They deserved what they got. Hearing someone else take the lead, the others jumped on board. Exactly. I always knew they were shady. Their true colors are finally out. You said it. Problem solved. The Lin family messed up first, so the 6 doors were totally justified in wiping them out. They were on the side of justice. Fast forward 10 days or so, even after the Lin family's destruction, Sanyang County was still booming. The storm everyone expected never hit. All the major families publicly supported the 6 doors' actions. Most of the Lin family members were executed, with just a few managing to escape. Though even they were now outcasts, the city was as peaceful as ever. In fact, a lot of people noticed things were actually better than before. The usual gangs were keeping a low profile, the rich kids were behaving themselves, and the government officials were suddenly efficient. Over at the Lu mansion, Li Ming was radiating heat, his life energy churning like a furnace, almost like a miniature sun. Dragon bone. Read, your muscles and bones are as powerful as a dragon's. Your life energy is like the ocean, and your natural physique is off the charts, making you a top-tier martial arts prodigy. After taking down the Lin family, his previous life energy had been replenished. He had almost another 200,000. Li Ming thought about it and leveled up his physical stats again. He went from jade bones to dragon bones. With this solid foundation, Li Ming dove back into his body training, adding a little more. After nearly draining his life energy, he had sculpted his body to an even more absurd level. Name, Li Ming. Cultivation, Condensation Gang, Perfection. Attributes, Destiny, Gold, Hunyuan Spirit Body, Red, Dragon Bone, Red, Divine Power, Blue, Wind and Cloud Walking, Blue. Martial Arts, Azure Dragon 9-turn Sword, Condensation Chapter, Perfection, Golden Elixir Chapter. Minor Success 10%, Bull Demon Powerful Fist, Condensation Gang Chapter, Major Success 40%, Bull Demon Tyrant Body Technique, Golden Elixir Chapter, Major Success 0%, Ride the Wind, Perfection. It took Li Ming less than half a month to push the Bull Demon Tyrant Body Technique from minor to major success. Anyone who found out would be blown away. With my physical condition now, I'm probably stronger than some god-refining masters. But for my next practice, it's best to have the pill condensation ready. If I try to force it, even I'm pushing my limits. I wonder if those materials for condensing pills are available yet. Just as Li Ming was pondering this, the Lu family's butler rushed over and respectfully told him, Kaishir-san from Kaishan Pavilion is here to see you. He's waiting in the front hall. Li Ming snapped back to reality, a smile spreading across his face. Tell him to wait a sec. I'll change and be right there. He hadn't expected Kaishir-san to come personally. Looks like his pill condensation supplies were probably ready. Now, the only question was whether there'd be any surprises. Lu Mansion, front hall. Kaishir-san sat with a smile on his face, calmly drinking tea while he waited for Li Ming. Soon, Li Ming strolled in and sat down. A servant appeared with a tea tray, poured tea for Li Ming, and then discreetly left, leaving the two alone in the hall. Li Ming couldn't resist asking, Brother Kai, you wouldn't be here if you didn't have some good news for me. Of course, there's progress to report, but we ran into a little snag along the way. Kaishir-san said slowly. The influence of Kaishan Pavilion was far-reaching, both above and below board. Kaishir-san had been working non-stop for Li Ming these past few days. He'd managed to gather most of the treasures Li Ming needed, but he was missing a high-quality spiritual object with yang attributes. After sending his men to look high and low, they finally caught a break. Someone claimed to possess Liang Xianjing, Liang Xianjing was a rare treasure of heaven and earth, formed by condensing the essence of the yang qi of heaven and earth. Common Liang ore could be refined into low-grade spiritual weapons, while Liang Xianjing could be used as raw material for high-grade spiritual weapons. It also had many other uses, making it a highly sought-after treasure. It met Li Ming's needs perfectly, and even exceeded them. However, the seller didn't want to make a transaction with money. They wanted to meet the buyer in person to discuss the deal. Kai Shisan wasn't sure what to do, so he decided to get Li Ming's input first. Oh. Li Ming was a little surprised. Does the seller have other motives? That he couldn't help but be suspicious. After all, people don't usually make things this complicated when selling something. However, since he was collecting everything under the Kaishan Pavilion's name, the seller shouldn't be targeting him. Kai Shisan hesitated, then whispered, "It seems like they want to trade for other items or ask for a favor." Li Ming frowned. He hadn't expected another obstacle, and then asked, "Who is this person?" "They aren't strong, but they're very cautious. I'm not even sure if I'm dealing with the seller themselves. If Brother Li isn't in a rush, I can handle them slowly and bring them in." Kai Shisan didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was clear. He'd take care of the dirty work, and Li Ming would reap the rewards, but it would take time. No need. If they're that cautious, they probably aren't carrying the Liang Xianjing on them. Grabbing them and interrogating them will just cause trouble. They aren't powerful, and they don't know my identity. In that case, I'll go see them myself. Li Ming didn't hesitate. After all, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so he thought going in person would be best, and if the other party had other ideas, he wasn't a pushover. Okay. Hearing this, Kai Shisan nodded slightly, then pulled out a bunch of items and handed them to Li Ming. They were all the materials for condensing pills that Li Ming needed, including Yin attribute treasures, 5 elements treasures, and some blending materials. Kai Shisan explained each item. They had all been found according to Li Ming's specifications and were incredibly rare. Li Ming nodded repeatedly, thinking how much easier it was to get things done with money and power. He'd never even heard of most of these things, but he could clearly sense the energy radiating from them, which really met his needs. It couldn't have been easy to find them. Li Ming bowed and said, "Thank you for your hard work, Brother Kai." No, it's my job." Kai Shisan's words were sincere. His everyday practice was to gather and distribute wealth. Doing this kind of thing for Li Ming was part of his own cultivation. He'd been watching Li Ming's recent moves. He was a rising star. Continuing to build a good relationship with him would definitely pay off. After that, Kai Shisan told Li Ming how to contact the seller, and didn't linger too long. He continued to butter Li Ming up and left after cementing their connection. Chapter 92, In the Ghost Market. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The seller picked a spot, the Ghost Market in Sanyang County. Folks hit up the Ghost Market in disguise, where you can snag stuff you can't find anywhere else. For shady deals like this, the Ghost Market is the go-to place. This particular Ghost Market sets up shop in an out-of-the-way mountain called Zhili Mountain. It's still 5 days until the market opens this month, so Li Ming's not rushing. He's taking on smaller jobs from the 6 gates to tide him over. He's racking up life energy and merit, plus getting in some practice. 5 days later, Li Ming snagged his entry pass from Kai Shisan and headed straight for Zhili Mountain. Zhili Mountain's way out in the sticks, pretty far from Sanyang County City, but Li Ming can cover ground fast these days. Besides, the Ghost Market only opens at night. Li Ming wasn't in any hurry, so by the time he got to Zhili Mountain, it was already dark. He stepped into the mountain. Moonlight filtered through the trees, and the ground was buried under a thick blanket of dead leaves. A breeze stirred, rustling the leaves. The dark, quiet night felt super creepy. Everything on Zhili Mountain was dead silent, except for a few wild animals moving around in the woods. But they all caught a whiff of Li Ming and kept their distance. Li Ming had never been to the Ghost Market, but he'd done his homework. It gets going in the wee hours, and it's hidden like crazy. Without a connection, you'd never find it. Lots of different groups are involved, so the government doesn't mess with it too much. After all, where there's demand, there's supply, and you can't shut it down for good. Before heading in, Li Ming put on a disguise, a ghost mask and a black robe. basic gear. Li Ming didn't know exactly where the market was, so he just started wandering around, keeping an eye out for anything suspicious. Pretty soon, as he went deeper, he noticed eyes watching him. Li Ming got it. He pulled out his wooden card and held it up, croaking. Here for the ghost market. Need a guide? Follow me. A raspy, creepy voice came from the woods, along with the sound of footsteps. Li Ming didn't hesitate and followed. The guide led Li Ming around, through a bunch of secret passages, until they reached a town hidden deep in the mountains. As soon as he got there, he could tell the market was already in full swing. Everyone was dressed in black and wearing masks to hide their identities. Even though there were tons of people, they kept their voices down. Little stalls lined the streets, but unlike regular vendors, they weren't hawking their wares. They were just waiting for someone to bite. Li Ming watched for a bit, then headed further down the street. He found an inn down an alley, with 2 lanterns hanging outside. Li Ming went inside. The shopkeeper was standing behind the counter. He wasn't wearing a mask, but a human skin mask, with a gaunt face that was seriously weird. He grinned when he saw Li Ming. Looking for someone, sir? Yeah, Lin Laochi. Li Ming said casually. The guy was hiding his strength pretty well, but Li Ming could tell he was a 4th-level Golden Core Realm Master, but he seemed pretty laid back, not much of a fighter. Okay, follow me. The shopkeeper took Li Ming upstairs to an empty room. Wait here a sec. Have a seat. Then he left before Li Ming could say anything. Li Ming wasn't worried. He sat down and waited. Soon, a guy in a green mask came into the room. He was built like a brick house. Li Ming checked him out. Name, Zhang Qiming. Realm, 1st level of condensation. Traits, Wu Gu, white, strong as an ox. Strength, vigor, white, free from worries, gray, hard work, gray. Does this guy really have what I need, or is he just a contact? Li Ming wondered. You're the one looking for the Liang mysterious crystal. Zhang Qiming sat down across from Li Ming, giving him the once-over. Since Li Ming was hiding his aura, Zhang Qiming couldn't tell anything about him. He just figured Li Ming was a big deal, probably someone powerful or connected. After all, people who want to buy stuff like that are usually high rollers. Li Ming nodded slightly. Yeah. You actually have it? Zhang Qiming said coldly. Of course. I had to pay a fortune for this thing. Li Ming thought for a second and said, what do you want for it? Zhang Qiming said, full of hate, help me kill someone. Oh, Li Ming stared at him. Zhang Qiming flinched. Just from Li Ming's presence, he could tell that the other guy was way stronger than him. If Li Ming wanted to off him, it'd be like swatting a fly. That's the only way you're getting it. If you don't agree, you won't get your hands on it even if you kill me. You have no idea where I've hidden it. And if you try to interrogate me, I'll kill myself. Zhang Qiming was talking fast, like he'd been expecting this. Li Ming saw how worked up the guy was and said slowly, how do I know you actually have what I want? Zhang Qiming looked awkward. He hadn't dared to bring the crystal with him. He clenched his fists and said, I swear to God, if I'm lying, I'll die a horrible death. My whole family will die suddenly, and my bloodline will end. Zhang Qiming waited anxiously, while Li Ming thought to himself, the guy seemed to be telling the truth. Even though swearing didn't mean much, Li Ming could sense his sincerity. After a long pause. Who do you want me to kill? Li Ming asked. He figured he should get the details first. If the guy wanted him to take out a martial saint or something, he'd be walking into a death trap. Seeing that Li Ming was interested, Zhang Qiming said, the guy I want you to kill is a real piece of garbage. He deserves to die. Li Ming's face was blank. He wasn't a nice guy. If killing someone would help him get ahead, he wouldn't hesitate, even if he had no personal beef with them. That's just how it is in the martial arts world. Softies end up as someone else's stepping stones. Of course, if the guy was a real villain, Li Ming would be even more motivated. Zhang Qiming said, I want you to kill Xing Wuming, an elder of the Qingyun Sword Sect. Li Ming's mouth twitched. Talk about running into someone you know. Still, he asked, how strong is he? He's about to break through to the spirit refinement realm. Zhang Qiming answered. Chapter 93, the world has suffered from the Qingyun Sword Sect for a long time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Ming frowned. He was practically a master at refining the gods, having perfected the golden elixir. He figured he wasn't as weak as Lin Sanghai. Can I win this? He wondered. Then, Zhang Qiming began his story. This Qingyun Sword Sect is bad news, and Xing Wuming is a real animal. I started as just a regular martial artist, nothing special. After grinding it out in the world for over a decade, I just wanted to chill in my hometown and make enough to support my family. So, I took a job as a supervisor at a mine run by the Qingyun Sword Sect. It was okay for a few years. But a few months back, the miners under me dug up some Liang Xianjing. Now, normally, 90% of that goes to the sect, and the garrison elders get 10% as a kickback. But Xing Wuming, greedy bastard, wanted it all for himself. He started killing people to keep it quiet, not just the miners who knew, but even supervisors. I was lucky, I'm naturally cautious. The night they made their move, I stayed awake and managed to escape with some of the Liang Xianjing. Even though I got away, they didn't stop there. They secretly murdered my wife and kids. Then, Xing Wuming spread the word that I was the one who got greedy and ran off with the Liang Xianjing. Zhang Qiming's teeth were clenched, fists balled so tight his veins bulged. Even though Li Ming couldn't see his face, he could feel the guy's overwhelming rage. Li Ming was silent, considering this. Xing Wuming was stone cold, not only pinning the blame on Zhang Qiming but wiping out his entire family. He wanted to push Zhang Qiming past the point of no return. Zhang Qiming sneered. The Qingyun Sword Sect probably saw how bad things were and just decided not to bother an elder who was close to breaking through to the god-refining realm. They went along with the story, branding me in or thief. I had to run, straight to Liang County, and then here. I even made an anonymous tip to the authorities, but heard nothing back, which means they were covering it up. Good thing I expected it, and I've been laying low. Otherwise, they'd have shut me up for good. But even with the Qingyun Sword Sect trying to bury this, there should be some clues we can dig up. If you can take out this guy, you'll find them. I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't desperate. Li Ming thought for a moment. Is he still stationed outside? If he goes back to the sect, it'll be a lot harder to get to him. Don't worry, he still has a few months left in his post. He's the only real heavy hitter stationed there. Zhang Qiming was sure of his intel. He was out of options and this was it. The Liang Xianjing was worth something, sure, but not enough to pay for the life of someone almost in the god-refining realm. He was hoping for a lucky break. If Li Ming wasn't on board, he'd have to find someone else, and spend the rest of his life hunting down revenge. Zhang Qiming said sincerely, if you kill Xing Wuming, I'll give you the Liang Xianjing, no questions asked. And anything else I can do for you, just name it. Is there anything else you want to know, sir? After digesting the info, Li Ming suddenly asked, what if I pretend to be with you, but then sell you out? Then I'm just unlucky, and I'll die. He looked at Li Ming, hoping. He knew Li Ming was strong, way stronger than him, but even if he couldn't take down a Qingyun Sword Sect elder directly, maybe he knew someone who could. His only bargaining chip was the Liang Xianjing. He didn't know if Li Ming would bite. Seeing Li Ming's silence, determination flashed in Zhang Qiming's eyes. He took off his mask and used his true energy to change his appearance. Underneath was a man around 40, plain-looking and haggard. My real name is Zhang Qiming, from Dafeng Village, Yanglan City, Liang County. Zhang Qiming was showing his hand to prove his sincerity. Li Ming, seeing he wasn't lying, said, what if I told you I also have a score to settle with the Qingyun Sword Sect? That would be perfect. Zhang Qiming said instantly. What if you gave me the Liang Xianjing now, and I got revenge for you after I leveled up? Li Ming said slowly. And I'll reveal my real identity to you, but you'll have to be under my control. How about that? Zhang Qiming was silent for a moment, then said grimly, yes, but I need to know your identity first. If you're not up to the job, I can't agree. Li Ming whispered his real name. Zhang Qiming's eyes widened, overjoyed. Thinking of Li Ming's past deeds, he burst out, "If it's really you, sir, then I agree." Zhang Qiming was a busybody, well informed about who had beef with the Qingyun Sword Sect. Li Ming was a big name these days, mentioned by everyone. Most notably, he'd straight up killed Qingyun Sword Sect disciples and forced the sect to disown their Lianshan elder disciple. Power-wise, Li Ming had wiped out the Lin family and their ancestor, so he was no joke. Plus, even if he was ruthless, he didn't have a reputation for being evil. Actually, he'd taken down a lot of bandits and hated injustice. Zhang Qiming trusted his character. Li Ming nodded slightly. "Follow me, and you can see if I'm being straight with you. Giving me that Liang Xianjing will make things a lot easier." Li Ming flashed his 6 Gates gold medal. Zhang Qiming's eyes narrowed, and he grit his teeth. "Okay, I trust you." He'd been through hell lately. If he missed this chance, who knew if he'd ever get revenge? Better to trust Li Ming. If he was lying, Zhang would just die, but if Li Ming wasn't lying, there was hope for revenge. "Okay, come back to Canyan County with me. You can see the truth for yourself." "Yes." "Then, follow me." With the deal done, Li Ming left the ghost market with Zhang Qiming. Back in Canyan County, Li Ming took Zhang Qiming straight to the God of Wealth Pavilion and revealed his true identity. With Kai Shirshan backing him up, Zhang Qiming was convinced. He knelt on the spot and said, "Mr. Li, if you'll have me, I'll die for you, just to kill that bastard Xing Tianming." "Sir, I'll go get you the black crystal now." He rushed out. Li Ming, watching him, was touched. The world has suffered under the Qingyun Sword Sect for too long. Kai Shirshan coughed and chimed in, "That's right, Brother Li is ridding the world of evil and acting on behalf of heaven." Chapter 94, Martial Arts Golden Elixir, the Embryo of Supernatural Powers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Zhang Qiming found Li Ming and presented the Liang mysterious crystal in a box. "Please verify, sir." The golden crystal radiated heat. A light touch confirmed the intense solar energy within. This treasure held endless potential for weapon refinement and martial arts cultivation. "Excellent. Just what I needed." Li Ming couldn't contain his excitement. Today marked the start of his golden core forging, propelling him into the master realm. With his confidence, minimal preparation was needed. Seeing Li Ming's satisfaction, Zhang Qiming said, "I'll take my leave." He departed, leaving Li Ming undisturbed, who immediately headed to his secluded chamber without hesitation. Lingering in his current state felt beneath him. 5 elements as foundation, yin and yang as guide, seizing creation's essence to forge a mixed golden core. Li Ming muttered, placing rare spiritual objects before him, treasures coveted enough to spark wars. He then arranged over 100 yuan crystals on the floor. These were essential for the breakthrough, providing a constant stream of pure energy. Li Ming closed his eyes, began to absorb the essence of heaven and earth, and his blood surged, radiating intense heat. The yuan crystals steadily diminished. Boom! His qi roiled, yin, yang, and the 5 elements coalescing and solidifying under the heat. A day passed. Li Ming remained in meditation, oblivious to time. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, brilliance shaking the room. A massive spiritual vortex formed above the Lu mansion, funneling energy into him, fueling his increasingly powerful aura. Phenomena swirled around Li Ming in the closed room, unseen by any. "It's done." A smile played on Li Ming's lips. A black and white golden core, marked by 10 mystic patterns, rested in his qi, a masterpiece. "A golden core in my belly, my fate's my own, no longer a pawn of fate," he murmured. But reaching the golden core realm is just the beginning, far from enough to defy fate in this world. Upon entering the golden core realm, his true qi transformed into innate true qi, increasing both power and quantity. His body underwent a rebirth, though its effects were diminished by his already formidable physique. Most importantly, his perception of spiritual energy amplified, simplifying the comprehension of martial arts' true meaning. Boom! A casual flick sent a shockwave, piercing the retreat room wall. This incredible power. A simple strike possesses such force. Unleashing my full potential would be unprecedented. Li Ming marveled. His true qi was paramount to his combat effectiveness, allowing him to challenge stronger opponents. Now, focused and unleashed, it might rival even the Soul Refinement Master. This was a transformative leap. Now, facing the Lin family, I wouldn't be so badly injured. I might even stand a chance against the Soul Refinement Master. Li Ming's confidence stemmed from his solid foundation, unmatched true qi and physical strength. He only lacked the Soul Refinement Master's mastery of martial arts' true meaning and the manipulation of heavenly power. But the Golden Core realm demands even more resources. Li Ming sighed after attempting to draw in spiritual energy, which had a negligible effect. Unlike the lower stages where simple absorption sufficed, the Master Realm depended on expensive elixirs. Luckily, his previous spoils provided an ample supply. Furthermore, his conquest of the Lin family had yielded a profit, enough to sustain his practice. While Yuan crystals offered excellent cultivation, they were too extravagant for regular use. As for Li Ming's Hunyuan spirit body, the speed of cultivation was far beyond that of ordinary people. For him, the small realm is almost unimpeded, and it only takes some time and resources. In the backyard, Li Ming familiarized himself with his newfound power, seamlessly integrating true qi into each move. He wielded his power with ease, like an extension of himself. After an hour, he sat on a stone platform, contemplating. While I've grasped the general power, the most surprising thing is the martial arts magic that comes with the top-quality golden elixir. A smile flashed across Li Ming's face. Upon closer inspection, he realized that his top-quality golden core had birthed a nascent martial arts magical power, a prototype of a force typically reserved for the fourth-level magical realm. Though usable, its activation strained him immensely. Zhang Qiming, hearing of Li Ming's emergence, rushed over to congratulate him. Congratulations, sir, on your breakthrough. He also lamented how Li Ming had such combat power without breaking through to the Golden Core realm. But that's fine, the stronger Li Ming is, the greater his hope for revenge. What's the status of Xing Wuming? Li Ming inquired. Zhang Qiming replied respectfully. He remained stationed at the Liang mine, likely unaware. Good. After a period of meditation, I'll eliminate that bitch. Yes, Zhang Qiming agreed, willing to wait. After a brief discussion, Li Ming had his meal and retreated to his secret chamber for intensive training, aiming for another rapid breakthrough. Fueled by his desire for revenge, Zhang Qiming was eager to serve. Furthermore, if Xing Wuming returns to the sect at the end of his term, it will be difficult for him to take action. Chapter 96, Collapse and Escape. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You've got a death wish. Xing Wuming's expression was a mix of confusion and unease. Who was this guy? He didn't seem to be after the Liang mine. Could he be out for revenge? He'd made plenty of enemies over the years, but he couldn't think of anyone powerful enough to send someone like this. Xing Wuming quickly concluded that this was a hitman sent by some old foe. Zhang Qiming's name never even crossed his mind as a possible suspect. Li Ming's attack was relentless. Xing Wuming instantly drew his sword to defend himself. His sword technique blazed like an inferno. Fire flame sword technique. Flames erupted, scorching the air. With a slash, the red sword energy split into dozens of streaks, withering the plants and trees for dozens of yards around. Sword met sword, creating a deafening roar. The blast sent waves of heat in all directions, flattening everything within yards of the impact. Clang, 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 the alarm in the nearby mine blared. What's going on? Elder Xing's under attack. What? Panic gripped the disciples of the Qingyun Sword Sect. The sheer force of the impact suggested that the attacker was at least Xing Wuming's equal, if not superior. They knew they would be useless in a fight like that. Still, many of them started heading toward the battlefield. They saw two figures facing each other in the ruins. Li Ming stood with his sword, his dark clothes spotless, showing no sign of the recent battle. Xing Wuming, on the other hand, looked disheveled and was breathing heavily. Help me kill this thief. The sect's top experts will be here any minute. If you do, I'll make sure you're rewarded, Xing Wuming yelled to two Golden Core Realm disciples nearby. Ordinary disciples wouldn't be effective. Only Golden Core warriors could join the fight. Hearing Xing Wuming's plea, the two disciples, who had been keeping to themselves, exchanged glances and nodded, ready to fight. A good showing here could earn them the sect's favor and help them advance, plus, if they didn't act and Xing Wuming fell, the arriving elders would surely punish them. With that in mind, the two disciples leaped into action. One was at the 3rd level of the Golden Core, the other at the 5th, both were experienced disciples stationed here on a sect mission, and they were no pushovers. Don't worry, Elder Xing, we're here, that they approached from either side, drawing their swords. Their words were reassuring, but their movements were cautious. The Qingyun Sword Sect disciples watching breathed a sigh of relief. Those two can be arrogant, but they're strong. Rumor has it they once fought a god-refining master together. Yeah, this attacker is in trouble now. As if spurred on by the comments, the two disciples channeled their energy, surging with power. Secret combined attack, sword net. They were skilled in combined attacks, manipulating their sword energy to create a wide net, leaving Li Ming no room to escape. Is that all you've got? Li Ming scoffed and drew the Persian sword. It was perfect against this kind of Xianxia attack. Besides, it was time to put this sword to use. Mysterious fire sword technique, burning style. As true energy poured into the sword, a sea of red sword energy formed around Li Ming. Then, a massive red energy blade slashed toward the sword net. It sliced through the net and aimed straight for the two disciples. They were horrified. Their carefully planned attack had been effortlessly dismantled, and the remaining energy of the strike didn't seem to have lost any of its power. They knew they were in trouble. How could this sword energy be so strong? It was on par with an attack from a god-refining master. They barely had time to react, raising their swords and channeling their energy to defend themselves. Before they could recover, Li Ming had closed the distance. Li Ming gave them no chance, unleashing another powerful strike. The air cracked and thunder echoed as the sword descended. Anything that tried to stand in its path would be torn to shreds. Against that terrifying blade, their efforts were futile. The sword flashed, and the two Golden Core Realm disciples were cut in two. Boom! A deep trench appeared in the ground. Time seemed to freeze. The disciples who had been ready to join the fight stopped in their tracks, fear gripping their hearts. What? How is this possible? Is he a spiritual cultivation master? That it was understandable that they mistook Li Ming's realm. His strength was simply overwhelming. The Qingyun Sword Sect was a reputable sect. Its disciples were skilled, and the true disciples were the best of the best. Yet they had been cut down so easily. Many disciples were too scared to move. They might not be cowards, but they didn't want to die for nothing. Whatever punishment they might face later couldn't be worse than death. Seeing Li Ming take down his helpers so easily, Xing Wuming was stunned. He knew he couldn't keep fighting like this. He could tell that Li Ming had been toying with him, waiting for the right moment to strike the killing blow. He was being slowly cooked alive. Boom. Take this. Xing Wuming unleashed his true qi, covering his body in red flames, creating a roaring whirlwind of fire. The true qi amplified his physical abilities, giving him incredible explosive power as he charged forward like a fiery tornado. Bring it on. Seeing Xing Wuming going all out, Li Ming tensed. He couldn't underestimate the power of a master who had reached the peak of the Golden Core Realm. The Qingyun Sword Sect disciples cheered. Elder Xing, kill this bastard and avenge our brothers. Show him the power of the Qingyun Sword Sect. Boom. Then, an unexpected twist. Instead of a head-on collision, Xing Wuming abruptly changed course, dodging Li Ming and sprinting away in the opposite direction. The first to be stunned by Xing Wuming's escape were the Qingyun Sword Sect disciples, seeing their usually arrogant Elder Xing running for his life. They wanted to laugh, but the sight of the powerful Li Ming kept them silent. Li Ming didn't have time for them. Seeing Xing Wuming turn and flee, he couldn't help but be surprised. Was that all a feint to get away? Exposing your back to the enemy was a death wish. Not if I can help it. Li Ming chased after him, drawing the Dinghai Bao. He figured out Xing Wuming's plan, to reach reinforcements from the Qingyun Sword Sect. however, Li Ming had done his homework. There shouldn't be any experts nearby. The Qingyun Sword Sect had strong people, but this was a remote location. Xing Wuming was the strongest one here. Li Ming shook his head. He had come too far to turn back now. He knew the risks, but he was still moving forward. Chapter 95 Assassination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qingyun Sword Sect, located in Liang County, had been growing rapidly for hundreds of years. After their previous sword master reached martial saint level, he expanded the sect by taking over several others, strengthening Qingyun Sword Sect's position. Now, that sword master has stepped back to focus on even deeper training, nearing the second level of cultivation. The current sword master is also incredibly talented and close to becoming a martial saint. Qingyun Sword Sect was becoming a top-tier force. Liang Mountain was one of the areas they'd acquired. It was rich in Liang ore, and occasionally produced Liang Xianjing. Because of this, Qingyun Sword Sect considered the mine valuable and kept a strong guard there to prevent other groups from stealing it. Many warriors, each with a sharp sword and a strong aura, guarded the mine. It's getting late, time to take Elder Xing his food. Let's go, we don't want to upset him by being late. Two young Qingyun Sword Sect disciples walked along. One carried 2 jugs of wine, and the other carried 2 bamboo baskets of food, with a delicious scent drifting from them. As the garrison elder, Xing Wuming didn't live in the mine itself, but in a separate wooden house to focus on his training. Disciples brought his meals every day. The two chatted as they walked. Suddenly, everything went black, and they both lost consciousness instantly. The items slipped from their hands, but 2 streams of true qi caught them, setting them down gently. Without damage, Li Ming dragged the 2 into the bushes, ending their lives. He changed into one of their outfits and altered his appearance to resemble the other, achieving about a 70 to 80% match. Only someone who knew them well would notice the difference. Li Ming's plan was simple. He'd go undercover, pretending to be a food delivery disciple, catch Xing Wuming by surprise, kill him, and make a clean getaway. He'd considered adding poison to the food, but realized that poison strong enough to affect masters were rare and hard to get quickly, so he dropped the idea. His preparation could have been better. Okay, the wooden house is just ahead. Carrying the food and wine, Li Ming continued forward. This was Xing Wuming's place, and others usually left him alone. There's a powerful presence inside, must be Xing Wuming. Standing outside, Li Ming could already feel his strong, undisguised aura, clearly meant to scare off anyone eyeing the mine. As Li Ming approached, a deep voice called out from inside. Let him in. Li Ming opened the door to see Xing Wuming. He appeared to be in his 30s, with a cold face and piercing eyes, giving off a sharp impression. He was muscular, with tight muscles like iron, looking particularly strong. Name, Xing Wuming. Cultivation, Golden Core Perfection. Entries, Fiery Flame Spirit Body, Blue, Fiery Flame Sword, Blue, Sword True Meaning, Blue, Comprehension, Green, Martial Arts Fanatic, Green, Arm Strength, White, Fierce, White. He has a spirit body too, stronger than I thought. Li Ming thought, he was only one step away from refining his spirit, probably hoping to use the Fiery Sun mysterious crystal for a breakthrough, but Zhang Qiming's theft had ruined that. Li Ming acted respectful, but Xing Wuming didn't even glance at him. He said casually, just put the food and wine down, then leave. Li Ming set the items down smoothly, but before he could move, Xing Wuming shouted. Wait, who are you? Li Ming was surprised, wondering how he'd been discovered, but since he'd been figured out, he dropped the act and showed his true intentions. Time to strike first. I'm your worst nightmare. Li Ming threw a punch. The Hunyuan Qi within him exploded, powerful and overwhelming. Bull Demon Power Fist. Supercharged by the innate Hunyuan Qi, its force was incredible. It had been 2 weeks since Li Ming broke through to Jindan, and his cultivation had been steadily rising, now at the 4th level of Jindan. What? Xing Wuming's face changed. He felt like he was being hit by a tidal wave. He barely managed to block with his palm. His fiery true qi erupted, instantly heating the room. Boom! Their fists and palms collided. Even though Li Ming was only at the 4th level of Jindan, he had a clear advantage. His Hunyuan true qi proved its superiority, crushing any opponent of the same level. Puff. Xing Wuming spat blood, flying backwards to crash into the wooden bed, breaking it. Xing Wuming was stunned. He'd had a gut feeling about Li Ming, but didn't expect to be ambushed. The disciples who delivered food were usually terrified of him, intimidated by his superior cultivation and aura. Li Ming had acted respectful, but hadn't seemed afraid, which had confused him. He hadn't expected an attack, and the power. How is this possible? Xing Wuming was shocked, feeling the numbness in his arms. He was born with a spirit body, which helped him progress smoothly in both swordsmanship and cultivation. His Lian Qi was top-notch, so even against a body-refining expert, his Qi should have been stronger, but his opponent's Qi and strength seemed superior. Was he facing a soul-refining master? But if so, why the disguise? Wouldn't it have been easier to just overpower him? Humph, whoever you are, you can't be afraid of Qingyun Sword Sect. Xing Wuming wiped the blood from his mouth, his eyes flashing coldly. He pulled out a token and channeled Qi into it to activate it. I advise you to leave now, or you'll be facing the masters of Qingyun Sword Sect. Think you can handle them? Xing Wuming remained calm, trying to stall while calling for backup. Qingyun Sword Sect hadn't sent him here without a plan. In case of a strong enemy, nearby masters would come to his aid. And these were all masters in the realm of refining spirits. I'm so scared, I'm shaking in my boots. Before the words were done, Li Ming's Yaoyuan knife flashed out, the dragon roaring to the sky. Empowered by Hunyuan Qi, the blade struck like a force of nature, a single cut that tore through chaos, separating yin and yang. The azure dragon's shadow solidified, crushing everything in its path, creating a hurricane of dirt and debris, and slammed towards Xing Wuming. Chapter 97, Arrows fly out, wind and clouds roar, meeting old friends again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the forest, birds sang and insects buzzed as two figures darted through the trees. Xing Wuming knew exactly where he stood. If he kept fighting, he was a dead man. He was on the verge of reaching the spirit refinement realm, and he wasn't ready to die. He was barely past 30 and still had a shot at becoming a martial saint. Dying for the sect would be a huge loss, even if they eventually avenged him. He wasn't that dumb. My divine fire escape might burn through a ton of energy, but you can't beat its speed. The wind whipped at Xing Wuming's face, twisting it as he thought smugly. He was talented. Not just with a sword, but a natural when it came to cultivation, and he'd mastered a bunch of powerful secret techniques. That's why he'd become an elder in the Qingyun Sword Sect. Even though elders usually had to be in the spirit refinement realm, he'd planned to head back to the sect to break through after this assignment. Then Li Ming had shown up, stronger than anything he could have imagined. Suddenly, Xing Wuming's face tightened. A streak of rainbow light shot out from behind him, locking onto him with deadly intent. Let's see if you can outrun this arrow. Li Ming's face was grim. The arrow, empowered by his arrow intent, was not only incredibly strong but also locked onto its target. It was perfect for chasing down prey. Infused with Hunyuan Qi and his divine power, the arrow was practically indestructible. Turning your back on him was a death wish. In a head-on fight, an archer was at a disadvantage. Most warriors specialized in close combat, making it tough to use archery, but when archers got an open shot, their firepower was like something out of a rocket launcher. Li Ming just had to keep up, firing at Xing Wuming from behind, leaving him with no way to fight back. The arrow closed in on Xing Wuming, and his eyes widened in terror. Gritting his teeth, he unleashed his Qi to try and deflect it. He twisted his body, trying to dodge. It was no use. The arrow seemed to have a mind of its own, following his every move. Boom! The arrow slammed into Xing Wuming, exploding in a deafening blast that leveled the trees for yards around. The power was devastating. A bloody figure burst through the smoke, still moving fast. Xing Wuming's body was a mess of cuts, bleeding freely, painting the ground red, but he ignored the pain, pushing himself to go even faster. Li Ming followed at a steady pace, firing arrow after arrow. Each one, driven by Hunyuan True Qi, packed a serious punch. Damn, this kind of attack has to be draining, but why doesn't he ever seem to tire? Xing Wuming was losing it, blocking Li Ming's arrows one after another, his injuries piling up. What floored him was that the guy was amazing with a sword, even better than him. He could understand that. But his explosive power was shocking. And now, Li Ming was some kind of expert archer. How could anyone keep up that kind of assault? Li Ming's arrows didn't weaken, they seemed to be getting stronger. Xing Wuming finally realized that Li Ming hadn't been worried about him getting away. At this rate, he'd be dead soon, but he couldn't stop. Facing Li Ming's sword head-on, he knew he didn't stand a chance. Almost there. Xing Wuming's body was on the verge of collapse, fueled only by his will to live. He knew the spirit refinement reinforcements were real. If he could just reach them, he'd have a chance. This last arrow is your ticket out. Li Ming's eyes gleamed as the veins in his arms bulged. He drew the bow back further and further until it formed a perfect crescent moon. The true energy in his body poured out, gathering at the tip of the arrow. Xing Wuming was nothing more than a moving target. This fight had shown him how strong he'd become. Those 2 red entries had made him almost unbeatable. Only another genius of his level could stand up to him. Xing Wuming's talent was decent, but compared to Li Ming, he was nothing. If Li Ming's true potential ever came to light, any holy land would kill to have him. Die. The moment the words left Li Ming's mouth, a beam of light erupted from the azure bow, *whoosh, star, the arrow tore through the air, as fast as lightning, there was no dodging it. Xing Wuming knew the second he saw it that he couldn't block it. Boom! A deafening explosion sent a shockwave ripping through the area, scattering sand and dust everywhere. Huh! What's that? Li Ming, still in pursuit, stopped in shock and looked up. A sword appeared from out of nowhere and blocked his fatal arrow at the last second. Xing Wuming's insane laughter echoed through the dust. Ha ha ha, God won't let me die. Xing Wuming was ecstatic, practically mad with relief. He'd been on the brink, but someone had saved him after all. Spirit Refinement Master. Li Ming felt the powerful aura in front of him, and his face grew serious. Xing Wuming had been running to find this person. As the dust settled, a figure in a green robe descended. The green-robed figure spoke, his voice calm but laced with anger. What's going on? Who dares to attack the Qingyun Sword Sect in Liang County? Xing Wuming rushed forward. I don't know. I don't know who he is. He's a master of swords, knives, and archery, and his combat power is incredible. He glanced at Li Ming as he slowly approached, his eyes filled with fear and hatred. Elder Su, it's him. You little thief, I thought you'd gotten away. Xing Wuming glared at Li Ming, a cold smile on his face. Li Ming ignored Xing Wuming's theatrics, focusing on the green-robed figure. Name, Su Yuanyuan. Cultivation, 4th level of spirit refinement. Entries, true meaning of sword, light red, Qingyun sword, blue, sword body, blue, sword crazy, green, loyalty, white, damaged foundation, gray. Huh. It was him. Seeing that Su Yuanyuan was Xing Wuming's lifeline, Li Ming couldn't help but look surprised. This Zhangzhou was way too small. He'd let him get away at the beginning, and now he was here, right in front of him. Back then, he'd been in the condensation realm, nothing more than an ant compared to a spirit refinement cultivator. Now, he had 2 red entries and had reached the Golden Core Grandmaster level. This time, it wasn't clear who would come out on top. Chapter 98, Fighting the God of Refining, Perfecting the Dominant Body and Showing Divine Power. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's no surprise Su Yuanyuan ended up here. With the authorities after him, and nursing serious injuries, he couldn't risk running far. Hiding in Liang County, the Qingyun Sword Sect's territory, was his safest bet. The Qingyun Sword Sect basically ran the place, so secretly protecting him wasn't a problem. Officially, he'd been kicked out of the sect, so he couldn't be seen in public. He laid low in a secluded spot to recover, and wouldn't you know it, his hideout wasn't far from Liang Mountain. After all this time, he was still hurting, but he was back to about 80%, so when Su Yuanyuan got the SOS, he hauled ass over here and saved Xing Wuming just in the nick of time. Spotting Li Ming trying to disguise himself, Su Yuanyuan barked, "Who the hell are you? You dare attack the Qingyun Sword Sect? You better confess." His voice cracked like thunder, infused with the power of a master. A shout like that could kill ordinary people on the spot. Weak-willed fighters might be so scared that they have a heart attack and a mental breakdown. This terrifying force washed over Li Ming, but he just glanced at Su Yuanyuan, smirked, and stepped forward, unleashing a powerful force of his own. He shook off the pressure. Li Ming looked at Su Yuanyuan, who looked every bit the suave swordsman, and said calmly, "Who am I?" "Well, look who it is, the washed-up has-been. How does it feel to get the boot from the Qingyun Sword Sect?" Su Yuanyuan's abilities are legit, but Li Ming's a changed man after 3 days. His power gives him the confidence to stand toe-to-toe with a master. Plus, Su Yuanyuan's hurt and not at his best. Li Ming hadn't forgotten that he had to be protected when facing Su Yuanyuan's attack, and had to run for his life, walking out of the secret realm of bloodshed. He was worried that the other party would kill him at all costs. "You." Su Yuanyuan shot Li Ming a look, pissed and surprised that his identity was blown. But Li Ming didn't seem to care. That made him uneasy. If Li Ming was shrugging off his intimidation and acting cocky, he had to have something up his sleeve, but, now that he knew who he was, Su Yuanyuan couldn't let it slide. "Even if you're a great fighter, you should know you're not the only one out there. Kid, today I'll show you the difference between a master and a golden core expert." Su Yuanyuan raised a hand, and with a swing, the spirit sword behind him leaped into his grip. The sword was named Lingyun, one he'd carried ever since he became a master, over 3 feet long and simply styled. It was etched with mysterious patterns and always radiated a chill. He'd worked on it constantly. And now it was a top-notch spiritual weapon, unbelievably sharp and responsive. Su Yuanyuan moved, instantly creating some distance between himself, Xing Wuming, and Li Ming. Then, the Lingyun sword in his hand sliced through the air, unleashing a series of incredibly powerful sword blasts at Li Ming. Xing Wuming had warned him how tough Li Ming was, so he wasn't taking any chances. Lingtian's sword technique, Starfall, that he opened with a wave of monstrous sword energy, like stars falling. With the true power of a master backing it up, each strike was a force to be reckoned with. Sword energy bombarded Li Ming for dozens of feet. Li Ming deflected the incoming sword energy with his own, or smashed it to bits with a punch. Su Yuanyuan's experience gave him confidence. The other party's true energy skill is high and martial arts will is superior to his. If he keeps fighting with true energy, he will not have any advantage, but he also has his own way to break the situation, which is to get close. Now he has perfected the bull demon tyrant body technique. The body of a master swordsman was no match for him. "Break!" Li Ming roared, turning into a streak of light, ignoring the sword energy and charging straight at Su Yuanyuan. Li Ming could deflect the sword energy attacks on the road, but if he couldn't block them, he would eat them forcefully. Now he had already activated the bull demon body refining technique, and his body was shining with a dark golden light, and his energy and blood were soaring into the sky. It was like turning into an unstoppable giant elephant. Li Ming's current speed has also been greatly improved compared to before. In just one breath, he covered a large distance and approached Su Yuanyuan, only a few meters away. Seeing Li Ming's physical power, Su Yuanyuan remained cool and didn't even flinch. Instead, he muttered, "Humph, you asked for it." His whole body radiated invisible sword energy. Li Ming could feel the intense pressure just by being close. Clang clang clang. An ordinary person would have been shredded instantly, but this super sharp energy couldn't pierce Li Ming's skin. Not bad at all. Even impressed by Li Ming's body, Su Yuanyuan still kept the pride of a master. "For you to fight me to this point with your cultivation, you are really good. If you also step into my realm, I will probably not be your opponent. If you back down now, I can spare your life." Seeing Li Ming's guts, he couldn't help but frown. His injuries held him back. If he was at full strength, he'd have killed Li Ming already. Li Ming took a deep breath. He knew what Su Yuanyuan was doing. He shouted, "Old man, don't act so high and mighty. You and Xing Wuming are gonna die." Li Ming unleashed his full power, and a roar burst from his very flesh. His blood and energy surged, becoming a dragon. Instead of fighting sword against sword, Li Ming balled his fist and poured his energy into the bull demon fist. He condensed his blood and energy into one fist, determined to shatter Su Yuanyuan's defense. This simple punch was packed with unbelievable power, distorting the air around it. Li Ming's fist loomed larger and larger, and the sword aura around Su Yuanyuan sounded vulnerable, like Qi sound. His goal was clear: take Su Yuanyuan out with one blow. Humph, you have no idea what you're up against. Su Yuanyuan's calm demeanor turned nasty. If the kid wouldn't listen to reason, he'd have to get serious. Qingyun Sword Art, Heaven and Earth Sword Shadow. Under Su Yuanyuan's influence, the surrounding sword energy became denser and more powerful. Then, it formed a sword shadow dozens of feet high, crashing down straight at Li Ming. Boom! The two forces collided, creating a huge explosion and a shockwave that spread in every direction. Chapter 99, Li Ming, the Reincarnation of the Martial Saint. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The energy unleashed from their collision was so intense, it triggered a landslide, collapsing the very mountain they were on. Xing Wuming, already severely injured, could only watch as the massive shockwave slammed into him. He was sent flying dozens of yards, tumbling head over heels before finally collapsing, unconscious and bleeding, his condition critical. Meanwhile, the battle between Li Ming and Su Yuanyuan raged on, their attacks locked momentarily. Then, Su Yuanyuan's sword vanished into nothing and was scattered. The remaining force of Li Ming's punch sent Su Yuanyuan staggering backward, carving a deep gouge in the ground. This punch is stronger than mine. Su Yuanyuan was stunned. As a master spirit refiner and a top member of the Qingyun Sword Sect, he couldn't believe what was happening. A sense of unease washed over him, and alarm bells started ringing in his head. Old man, is that all you've got? Say hello to your prized student in hell. Seeing his punch land, Li Ming pressed his advantage. He closed the distance to Su Yuanyuan in a flash. The Yaoyue sword flashed in the air, its blade suddenly extending several feet. This downward slash carried immense power, capable of splitting mountains. You're. Su Yuanyuan stammered, a shocking realization dawning on him. Could this guy be Li Ming? Impossible. But the boxing style and swordsmanship were identical to those Li Ming used to kill Zhao Yukai, only, this time they were far more powerful. Despite his shock, Su Yuanyuan reacted instantly, his martial arts instincts kicking in. Offense is the best defense. Although he hadn't trained defensively, Su Yuanyuan focused his mind, and his sword energy surged like a tidal wave. Empowered by his sword, he seemed to be in harmony with the world around him. His sword energy whistled, deflecting Li Ming's relentless attacks. In less than 10 breaths, they exchanged over 100 blows. Sword energy and blade light crisscrossed, creating a spectacular and earth-shattering display. Boom, 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 each impact shook the very ground, and the raw energy pulverized everything nearby. The villagers at the base of the mountain, convinced the mountain god was angry, prostrated themselves, begging for mercy. To ordinary people and weaker warriors, this level of combat was akin to the wrath of gods. This Li Ming, he's the real deal. Even against a master spirit refiner like me, he's holding his own. Su Yuanyuan was astonished by Li Ming's prowess. The sect's so-called geniuses wouldn't even be worthy of carrying his water. Li Ming's physical strength was superior to his, and he realized that continuing this fight could trigger a relapse of his old injuries, leading to his death. Thinking quickly, Su Yuanyuan abandoned all caution and unleashed everything he had. Qingyun Sword Art, the sword that moves mountains and rivers. Before he finished speaking, a torrent of true energy and sword intent erupted, instantly flooding toward Li Ming. Su Yuanyuan's signature sword art was designed to push his sword intent to its limit, affecting the enemy's mind and maximizing the sword's destructive power. Even before the sword energy arrived, the sword intent had locked onto Li Ming's consciousness. Despite Li Ming's strong will, he was momentarily disoriented. His vision blurred, his senses dulled, he was cut off from all perception, as if his soul was about to leave his body. He snapped back to reality just in time. Seeing that he was about to be struck down by Su Yuanyuan, Li Ming didn't hesitate. Almost instinctively, he used a trump card he had developed after reaching the Golden Core stage. Martial Arts Divine Power, Hunyuan 7 Kills. Divine power is the art of making the impossible possible. It's an extraordinary ability, only mastered at the 4th level of martial arts, and reaching its full potential only in the hands of martial saints. Li Ming's golden core pulsated, and guided by his will, the power of heaven and earth converged, forming a vortex of black and white true energy before him. It embodied yin and yang, and the essence of the five elements, almost like a swirling chaos. Boom! The resulting shockwave shattered the ground, distorting the very air. Su Yuanyuan, who had been poised to deliver the finishing blow, felt as if he was facing a black hole, being sucked in. At the edge of the vortex, his protective true energy evaporated instantly. Su Yuanyuan's face twisted in horror, and he frantically mustered all his remaining strength to barely escape the range of this power. He had been shocked multiple times today, but this was another level. Is this a martial arts divine power? That the knowledgeable Su Yuanyuan recognized Li Ming's technique immediately. It wasn't some secret art, but a genuine martial arts divine power. No, if he uses the full power of a martial arts magic, I'll be dead. Su Yuanyuan was in disbelief. Even a rudimentary divine power was almost impossible to withstand. Could he be a descendant of a martial saint, with his bloodline awakened? Su Yuanyuan wondered, wasn't Li Ming from a nobody family? Could there be more to his story? In his understanding, divine powers are either mastered upon becoming a fourth-grade warrior, or very rarely, they are inherited by descendants of powerful martial saints. These descendants have a small chance of awakening their ancestral bloodline and gaining a partial version of the martial arts divine power. This is why families of martial saints are so revered. As long as their lineage isn't broken, they always have the potential to rise again, even from decline. The chances, however, are small. For example, the Qi family that Li Ming had met before, they were descendants of martial saints, but had failed to inherit any of their ancestors' divine powers. When martial arts divine powers are inherited to the next generation, these individuals are often referred to as reincarnated martial saints. No wonder your strength has improved so dramatically in just a few months. You're the reincarnation of a martial saint. Su Yuanyuan stared at Li Ming, convinced he had the answer. He remembered Li Ming being a nobody in the condensation realm just a few months ago, but now he was powerful enough to compete with him. There had to be a secret, and now it was clear. The other party was the reincarnation of a martial saint, with awakened bloodline. Reincarnation of a martial saint. Li Ming chuckled. His predecessor had often wondered if his Li family was a fallen martial saint family, and if he could awaken their bloodline. It was a pipe dream. The family history was well documented, and the most powerful member had been just a spirit refiner. Li Ming was definitely not a reincarnation of a martial saint. His strength was purely the result of his 10-pattern golden core, but he didn't know if the cores of others also had divine powers, and this divine power was mysterious. Even with his incredible talent, it was still extremely difficult to control. Even after working hard these days, it could barely be called a prototype. If it was fully realized, Su Yuanyuan would be dust. Chapter 100, Slaying the God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kill. He didn't give a damn how shocked Su Yuanyuan was, seeing his opponent was thrown off balance by his sudden burst of power. Li Ming seized the moment. Blood pumping, true energy focused, he lunged forward, closing the distance to Su Yuanyuan, and swung his blade. His sword intent became pure, unadulterated killing intent. This was the final, devastating move of the Qinglong 9-turn sword technique at the golden core level. Azure Dragon pierces the heavens. Crap! Su Yuanyuan was blindsided. Li Ming's unexpected power surge had blocked his previous full-force attack. Even with his substantial energy reserves and rapid regeneration, he was vulnerable. Now, he could only raise his sword defensively, desperately channeling any remaining protective energy, praying it would be enough to withstand Li Ming's blow. Boom, the instant the blades collided, Su Yuanyuan was hit with a force that felt like a freight train. The impact reverberated outward. With a deafening crash, Su Yuanyuan was sent flying, his sword arm nearly shattered. One strike not enough. Here's another. Seeing his opponent was still alive, Li Ming launched himself into the air, instantly closing the distance to the reeling Su Yuanyuan. His blade flashed, crackling with deadly energy. Bang, before Su Yuanyuan could regain his footing, he was struck again, the blow catching him completely off guard. Though his energy was flagging, Li Ming's superior physical strength now became the deciding factor. The roar of his surging blood and chi was like thunder echoing inside him. With his blood still coursing like a dragon, he maintained formidable fighting power. Blow after blow. Su Yuanyuan's resistance crumbled, while Li Ming's attacks grew fiercer with each strike. Time to die, Li Ming roared, unleashing his final, fatal blow. The sword flashed, death was in the air. No, Su Yuanyuan's face twisted in a mask of rage and despair. He'd attacked Li Ming to avenge his disciple, stooping to bullying the weak. Now, revenge was denied, and he faced death at Li Ming's hands. Su Yuanyuan beheaded, gaining 90,000 life energy. Against fate activated, entry capture available. Captured sword intent, pale red. Sword intent, pale red, 40% understanding of sword intent. Su Yuanyuan was dead, the former elder of the Qingyun Sword Sect, a well-known master of the God refinement realm, lay defeated, his last reserves of true energy spent beneath Li Ming's blade. No. Impossible. Don't kill me. My father is. Xing Wuming had just regained consciousness. His eyes darted to the scene of the battle, and he watched Su Yuanyuan's death at Li Ming's hand. He fell into despair. Nothing's impossible. Blame your own greed. Li Ming's expression was cold as he cut off Xing Wuming's desperate plea. He darted forward, appearing before Xing Wuming in the blink of an eye. Zhang Qiming sent me to kill you. The words were barely out of his mouth before Li Ming struck. Xing Wuming's head bounced across the ground, staining the earth red. At last, he understood. Xing Wuming had never imagined that his death would be because of a petty grievance he'd once brushed aside. The scorching sun mystic scripture might be valuable, but never worth the price of his life. Xing Wuming beheaded, gaining 30,000 life energy. Against fate activated, entry capture available. Xing Wuming's entry was unexceptional. Li Ming quickly chose to absorb it, gained 5,000 life energy. He dealt with the bodies. Su Yuanyuan had nothing of value on him, and his sword had lost its spirit with the death of its master, reduced to a mere piece of metal, frustrating Li Ming. Xing Wuming's belongings, on the other hand, brought a nod of satisfaction. Over 80 spirit crystals, along with some golden core cultivation resources the man hadn't had a chance to use, were a nice bonus. Li Ming wasted no time leaving the scene. This close to the Qingyun Sword Sect's home base, the battle must have alerted them. He wasn't about to risk running into a rank 4 master. Half an hour after Li Ming's departure, an elder of the Qingyun Sword Sect arrived, aghast at the scene of carnage and Su Yuanyuan's head. Has the Qingyun Sword Sect made an enemy? If someone could kill Su Yuanyuan, a master of the God refinement realm, it meant even he wasn't safe. Spotting Xing Wuming's body, the elder frowned. Xing Wuming's death would have consequences. The kid was an elder thanks to more than just talent. The next day, news of the Qingyun Sword Sect elder's assassination sent shockwaves through Liang County and even reached Zhangzhou. The Qingyun Sword Sect's rapid expansion in recent years was well known. The local authorities turned a blind eye, allowing them to flourish as long as they didn't openly rebel. This had led to arrogance within the sect, but now, an elder hunted down and killed in Liang was a major embarrassment. Speculation ran rampant as to the killer's identity. Some in the Qingyun Sword Sect suspected Li Ming, but they had no proof. They could only offer a reward, promising valuable resources and even secret techniques. The killer's appearance and build were rough estimates. Though Li Ming hadn't bothered to conceal his identity, he had changed his features. The killer's real face was a mystery. The reward notice mentioned the killer was a master of the Golden Core realm, exceptionally skilled in combat, swordsmanship, and archery. The Qingyun Sword Sect kept silent about the killer's victory against a God refinement master. After all, Su Yuanyuan was technically a wanted fugitive, and the Qingyun Sword Sect didn't want to get caught up in the scandal. Witnesses had mentioned the killer didn't seem old, still in his prime as a warrior. This news piqued the interest of many forces, fueling speculation about which master had taken action. The Qingyun Sword Sect's arrogance made it likely they had stepped on the wrong toes, and they thought they might be able to recruit this master for their own purposes. Sangyang County, the Lu estate, in the main hall, Zhang Qiming knelt before Li Ming, overcome with gratitude. Thank you, sir, for avenging me. I will be in your debt forever. Li Ming sipped his tea, his expression calm. Your revenge is complete, your life wiped clean. It's time for a fresh start. Besides, the path I walk is not a path for you. It wasn't arrogance. Li Ming's golden finger was destined to make him many enemies, his 6 doors affiliation was a thorn in many people's sides. Understood. Looking into Li Ming's steady gaze, Zhang Qiming nodded, finally grasping the truth. He bowed deeply and left. That was reckless. Lu Tian appeared before Li Ming, a hint of reprimand in his voice. A rank 4 master from the Qingyun Sword Sect in Liang County. No one could have saved you. Ahem. Sir, what do you mean? Li Ming feigned innocence, holding up his hands in mock surrender. Lu Tian chuckled. You can drop the act. No evidence, and the Qingyun Sword Sect can't touch you. But you've seriously damaged their reputation, which is a good thing. The Qingyun Sword Sect is practically an empire over in Liang County. They've got their hooks into everyone. Even some noble families in Sanyang County are starting to bristle. Lu Tian sneered under his breath, this world wasn't like the one Li Ming had left behind. Here, martial power reigned supreme. Martial arts was the backbone of society, and everything else came second. Many powerful factions had become rulers in their own right.